Ladies and gentlemen, guilty movie pleasure fans, the Oscar season is rapidly approaching, and Guillermo del Toro is up for a shit ton of awards for The Shape of Water. But before this fantastic filmmaker made a lovely, delightful film about a mute young woman who fell in love with a fish man and then boned said fish man, he made a little vampire classic I like to call Blade 2.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
Oh yeah, that's what happens when you make an intro up on the spot.
That was really good.
Oh man,
I was gonna say something, but you pointed out immediately when we cut to music that you're not the only one that calls it Blade 2.
Hey,
Everyone
there's a
calls it
little
Blade 2.
vampire movie I like to call. People call it Blade //. That's the problem, because
Yeah.
there's the two knife marks, or
Yeah,
Blade double knives.
I had a tough time Googling it because I Googled Blade 2 and everything that came up was Blade Runner 2049.
Oh really?
And I had to figure out that it was actually the two
Blade //. All right, so we put out a question to our guilty movie pleasure fans, and again, this just goes to show you how easy it is to sway the show.
Yes.
We put out a poll that said, would you like us to cover an older Marvel movie this week, since Marvel released Black Panther this week, and or would you like us to cover the Cloverfield paradox, because that had been mentioned before, and also Steve, who is one of the producers here, Steven,
Shout out.
wanted us to do it, because Cloverfield paradox, if you haven't seen it yet, starts off awesome and then becomes just a parade of what the fuck that never gets explained.
Would you call it maybe a paradox?
It's definitely a paradox.
Yeah.
And that's just how they justify everything in the script. So we might cover that someday, but Marvel movie won, and then we asked which ones, and the only two suggestions we got were Blade 2 and the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which I've seen like 15 minutes of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
15 consecutive minutes, or you saw sort of
I
like
don't
sporadic
remember.
15
It's
minutes?
terrible.
Okay.
It's but we will maybe do that someday because it's so bad it circles back to almost being good again. We should do the Fantastic Four with Michael B. Jordan though, and because you can tell that it's almost a good movie in pieces, and then it's just a mishmash train wreck.
More of like a Fantastic One.
It's a Fantastic One.
Yeah.
It has a Fantastic One story,
Yeah.
and then
Interestingly enough, though, you had suggested before we put that poll out online, you had suggested Blade 2. And then I remember the suggestion of Cloverfield Paradox. So we were trying to figure out what is more topical, a Marvel movie or something that we've never done, like a movie that was just released.
we haven't. So maybe we'll do it next week.
That's a possibility we could do that next week.
Maybe.
But you threw out Blade 2, and I was like, let's throw it to the
throw it to-
viewers.
yeah.
And then Blade 2 was
The first suggestion.
Yeah,
and
so
I
we
was
were
like, yes!
all right,
It's like I
this is-
incepted that.
This is fate.
So, man, the Blade movies are awesome. They're super awesome. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Black Panther for 10 seconds.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's awesome.
Can I just say before you
Yeah.
start, a
Yeah.
lot of times, as has been pointed out, I've said, I hear it's good, and that means I'm going to see it in a year. I have seen Black Panther.
You did?
I saw
What'd you
it
think
this
about it?
weekend. I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself.
It's, to me, I'm not going to, no spoilers at all, but to me, it gives, it's the deepest Marvel movie yet with the most real world themes and actual emotional, it has the most emotional depth of a Marvel movie next to like Civil War with real world consequences in a superhero movie.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
And the villain comes from a place of pain. I won't say anything else, but he comes from a place where you kind of go, oh shit, I get that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I personally, as a white dude from Ohio, don't get that, but I get you know what I mean? Like,
I personally get it.
you personally get it. Yeah,
No, but it was a very grounded and relatable, like on a human level.
And I love all DC and Marvel movies. I mean, not all DC and not every single Marvel movie, but I'm a comic book fan.
Yeah.
And so many of them are like end of world, beam of light in the sky with just CGI shit around it, and it's so heightened that you can't even really fathom that really happening. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
I
I was just I've seen a lot of people, and I think you also pointed out that it's very Shakespearean, and it just deals with human issues rather than like superhuman issues. So me, as not a connoisseur of superhero movies and not necessarily...
Are you insinuating I am a connoisseur?
I am, actually, yeah.
I did something!
I am also insinuating that I am not. Is that... Or it was literally... I literally said that. But so when I see these movies, I appreciate them more on a like general movie-going experience, and this one was very appreciable.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed myself. I thought it was a really good mix of like I said, human interaction and also like the fight sequences and set pieces and just a lot of the visuals were really cool and stuff that I hadn't seen before.
The set designs, the colors really pop in IMAX, and the costumes are amazing. And then what I will say that's been very frustrating though is there's a lot of internet trolls out there who are claiming Black Panther's racist. Why can't I have a white tiger? I've seen so many times. Black Panther's racist. I can't have a white tiger. Fuck off! You've had a white tiger. Have you ever watched a movie before?
Oh, that's a good, that should be the barometer.
Have you ever watched a movie before? Let me list the white tigers you've had, people that think Black Panther is racist. Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, although Green Lantern in the comic books, there was an African-American or black character as well at one point, so they stole that from you.
So there you go.
James Bond, Doctor Who, but then there was a woman, look out, stormtroopers until Finn came along and you had a shit fit about that. It's like, get over yourselves. Guess what? If this weekend made you uncomfortable, next weekend there's going to be 99.9% of your movies, TV, books, comic books, video games, records that come out, people on the news, everywhere, newscasters, sports, everything. It's going to reflect your point of view, and that's fine. Good for you. But come on, am I right? It's just a
You
little...
are right.
It's super annoying.
Yes.
I saw that all the time.
Yeah.
And they're gonna feel really stupid if they stay for some of the after credit scenes because there's something that happened.
Sure.
I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's funny. You'll get it what I'm talking about with the white tiger.
You'll get it later.
You'll get it later.
Yeah.
So, did you feel annoyed with that too? Because I was getting fired the fuck up all over Twitter this weekend.
It was the same thing that happened when Ghostbusters was re-released.
Oh, that was
the same
annoying
thing
too.
that happened when Wonder Woman was released. So just people in a position of privilege get super worried that their privilege is being infringed upon, and they seem to think that is I don't know. It's some sort of disadvantage to give up one thing.
One movie.
Yeah.
I also love when studio executives are like, oh my God, we had no idea a movie about an entire black cast with dealing with black issues other than slavery would make money, you know? Or like when Logan came out, we had no idea a violent Wolverine movie would make money. Or Deadpool, a violent Deadpool movie.
So I like less specifically, more generally, love the idea when studio executives are like, wow, we had no idea that this sort of thing would make money. And it's like, that's for real your job. Like you have to know
job.
You have to know that this is going to make money. Like that's your only job is to make money. So you should know these things. Like you should have an inkling.
Anyways, so we went on a tangent there that I had fully wanted to do. So that's that. We don't have a signal up here, Steve. I don't know if that's a problem with the TV. Okay. So anyways, now that we've spent 15, 20 minutes on that, I don't even know how long, I got fired up. We're going to talk about Blade 2, which I spent the weekend watching all 3 Blade movies just to have a barometer of where I think this stands against all of them. And also, I did think it was funny that Guillermo del Toro made The Shape of Water, which even though I called it a movie where a mute woman fucks a fish, basically, it's an awesome film. I don't know if you've seen The Shape of Water.
Sorry, spoiler.
Spoiler. They kind of ain't seen. You know it's coming. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
I love Shape of Water. It's a beautiful movie, and so it's cool to go back and watch something a little more campy and out there. And I don't know if anything is more out there than a woman having sex with a fish man, but
Sure. Yeah.
But this movie's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Blade 1 is kind of a little bit more serious and darker in tone, and this one's more kind of flashy and comic booky. I think this one's the most fun movie. Blade, the first one, has this awesome scene. You haven't seen it, right?
I haven't seen it. I was actually going to ask,
Yeah.
can you just take us, for me a little bit, but also for the people listening and watching who have not seen Blade 1 and are about to hear us talk about Blade 2, can you give us like a brief synopsis?
Long and short of it, you find out that Blade was, his mom was pregnant when she was bit by a vampire, and he became half vampire, half human, and he's a daywalker. He's able to walk in daylight. He has all of their strengths, none of their weaknesses, all that stuff. And there's Deacon Frost, played by Stephen Dorff, who's a young upstart. He wasn't born vampire, but he's a new breed of... He was like turned at some point in his life.
Okay.
And he's saying, you old born vampires aren't hip to the times. We have this treaty with the people. We don't need to keep this anymore. We could rule. They're our food. We don't need to have a treaty with them. We should destroy them. And so he's going to summon this blood god, and he kills off a bunch of the elders in this ceremony, and he becomes the blood god at the end, and then Blade kills his ass by putting all these vampire antidotes they come up with him and Chris Christopherson and the woman he saves in the movie. He puts all these vampire antidotes in him, and he turns into this big blob and explodes everywhere, and it's awesome. And then Blade goes to like some Eastern European country in the end and is vampire hunting again. And that's where we pick up here, because you think Whistler's dead in the first one.
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson's character, you think he shot himself after being bit.
We see that little flashback of him handing him the gun.
No, he did not.
He did not
He
die.
turned.
Yeah.
Which is a leap from, I mean, it's pretty clear in the first one. He's dead.
Right.
But you don't see it. And in horror films, if you don't see it on screen,
I guess.
you know, it's look, we're here, we're live.
back.
All right. So, yeah, if you don't see it on screen, then it didn't happen. But I love Blade 1 and 2. I watched Blade Trinity again, and it's not good. It is not good. I think Ryan Reynolds is great in Deadpool. I think that they just gave him really...
Two guys, a girl, and a pizza place.
Yes.
Also good in
I actually think Ryan Reynolds is great in a lot of things, but in this movie, it's like they either wrote him terrible lines or took his worst improvs in Blade Trinity, and it's not funny. It's too campy. The villain sucks. Anyways, there's some decent action, but Blade 2 has the best... It's nonstop action.
It really
And
is.
Wesley Snipes is just whooping ass the whole time, and it's fucking awesome. I remember he has the things, and he like stakes a guy in the nuts, and he catches on fire. I'm blending maybe all three together now. I don't know, but I think Blade 2 is the best.
Maybe a fever dream you had. That might have
Fever
happened,
dream
yeah.
about Wesley Snipes staking a dude in the nuts. So Jesse, what do you think, since you haven't seen it before?
So that gives pretty good context for a couple of the issues that I had with this movie. I thought the character of Blade was a little boring. And it might have been because it wasn't introduced in this movie. It might have been like all of his personality and everything that we learn about him was in Blade 1. Because we didn't learn a goddamn thing about him in Blade 2.
I didn't even think about that when you were like, hey, what do I need to know? Nothing, you'll be fine.
Yeah, well, and like more or less you are.
Yeah.
Like you just watch the movie and like you said, it's basically like a 2-hour ass kicking that goes
That's all
on.
it is. It's great.
Because nothing ever changed with him. We didn't really learn anything about him. He didn't seem to have any conflict. He was just like singularly focused and just whooping ass.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like within the context of like a trilogy, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That we don't really need to spend very much time doing that with him.
I'm trying to think if there was a... He's always, even in the first one, he's very stoic and just... I mean, he does have a lot of conflict with... he saves a nurse who reminds him of his mother in the first one, and he normally would let her die, and he saves her, and then she helps him work on a cure, and she cures herself, and then offers to cure him, but he's like, the job isn't done yet, and then they just completely erase her character for this movie.
So like,
so there's more conflict in the first one.
They like dip their toe into forbidden love a little bit in this movie.
A little, but then they don't.
But
yeah.
they bailed on it, and it was like they didn't bother setting it up. They just like all of a sudden Chris Christopherson was like, hey, you've been spending a little time with that woman.
And by a little time, it's like a few expositional dialogue scenes.
They had one scene alone together where she was like, I see you're injecting yourself with that stuff. And he was like, yeah.
Yeah. I will say that the style of the movie far outweighs the script. I mean, it came out in 2004, but it definitely still feels like 90s action films where it's like, we don't need to develop the character too much, just whooping ass. And when you go to a Blade movie, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because the third one, if you watch that one, which you don't, they throw in all this stuff where like the vampires are trying to frame him with the cops because people are starting to think that vampires are real, and so they're trying to make Blade look crazy and like he killed it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it was fine. It was just like, at least for me, like I either need the superhero to have a personality or to have a conflict, and he had neither. So it was really just like Guillermo del Toro flexing for 2 hours, and I was pretty okay with that. Like it was like all the kills were really cool, and like the way the vampires died was pretty cool. And the way that he died in the end, like I forget the guy's name, the like main mutant vampire. Nomak. The way Nomak dies in the end was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like all of that was visually interesting. It was just like if Blade died, I would have been like, damn, I thought he was a good fighter, but
exactly. Right. I get that.
All right, we'll move on.
If you want to see a Guillermo del Toro movie that I think is even better than this one, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
I've seen Hellboy 2. Yeah.
Hellboy 2 is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That one, to me, Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy 2 are two of my favorite. And I like Blade 2 a lot, but those to me are like Guillermo del Toro just getting to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Especially Hellboy 2 just feels like a greatest hits of awesome del Toro action and imagination. He's one of the most imaginative filmmakers out there. And I think that this is actually, oddly enough, one of his more restrained movies when it comes to like the imagination of things, but when it comes to action, it's just unleashed.
Yeah.
You know?
I had a question, and we can get into the plot in a minute here, but I was watching it in a cafe with a kind of a spotty internet connection because, like, full disclosure, normally I watch them either Monday or Tuesday, but I had a packed early week, so I was like, I'll watch it in the afternoon on Wednesday. I have a free afternoon.
You watched it this afternoon?
I sat down to watch it today at home, and there was an internet and cable outage in my area. Oh, no. So I was like, fuck. So I went to a cafe and was using the cafe's Wi-Fi, and it was so that the movie was like spotty and jumpy in parts.
No.
So like I more or less got it and like was able to.
That's the worst.
Yeah, like it got better as we went along, but the final fight between Nomak and Blade seemed like it looked different or was shot different than the rest of the battle sequences. Is that accurate? Like no? Okay. It just looked like the jumping and like the way they were zooming and the way they were catching the like movement of everyone, it looked a little bit different.
I don't remember that looking different, but maybe
I don't know. If anyone just saw it, you can get at us with that. But it looked more stylized than the rest
I'll
of the battles.
have to watch it again now.
Yeah.
Now you're making me think I have to watch it
All
again.
right.
Well, let's do the plot in under 3 minutes now that I went on a Black Panther rant and we dissected all of the Blade trilogy. You know, hey, we give you a full-service show here.
That's exactly. We hit 360 degrees of your needs.
You guys show up here for one thing. We give you everything.
We give you other stuff.
We give you.
You show up to see specifically one thing, and we
say surprise.
We say hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on.
There's other stuff.
There's an aperitif.
Aperitif. Are you ready in the booth there?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do this.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we open on a super gory scene with this bad guy who's coming into this clinic to give blood, but it's the weirdest blood bank ever, and it turns out it's run by vampires, and he kills them all, and he has this crazy, like Resident Evil face, and he kills them, and then we go to Whistler somehow survived, and Blade is breaking him out, but he's hanging out with Daryl from Walking Dead, Norman Reedus. He's helping him. He goes, kills a bunch of vampires, gets Whistler, and then they go to the vampire lair.
Well, so the vampires attack their place, and like they spend a lot of time fighting, and then they're about to kill Blade, and they're like, "Oh wait, we're not here to kill you.
First.
We're just here to give you a message. We need your help." And they're like, "There's this new like mutated form of vampire, and they're both of our enemies, so we need your help. We have a team. We've assembled a team, and we've trained them."
Yes, and it's called the Blood Pack. So they go meet the Blood Pack. We get Ron Perlman's in there. He's kind of a real dickhead. We get the guy. I'll figure out his name later. Donnie Yen's in it, but he's really underutilized in this movie. There's a dude with a giant hammer and a spike. A girl with red hair looks kind of like Mila Jovovich from Fifth Element. It's just like a hodgepodge of awesome people. They go out to do their first thing at this club, and they're scoping out this club to try and figure out where to draw out the Reapers. And they're going to this vampire club. They're walking around, and then all of a sudden the Reapers come out through the sewers. They start picking them off one by one. It's this big epic fight scene where a few of their dudes get killed, and they're reeling.
They realize none of their weapons can kill them. The only thing that does anything is the light. And then they get one of the guys. They get the guy with the long hair, and they also secretly get the guy with the hammer.
With the hammer, yeah.
Yep. And he's like, "No, I'm fine." But then they kill the guy with the long hair, and they go back to the lab, and they're like, "We got to draw him out. We got to go into the sewer." So they get like the pheromones, and they go into the sewer, and they build the light bomb.
Yeah.
The light
And
grenade.
it's a huge long sequence. It's awesome in the sewer where they're fighting, and the light grenades. They kill a few other people, get picked off. This is a really hard movie to remember everything because it's so many intricate fight scenes, and that's like.
So the guy with the hammer and the girl, like they were together, and then she finds out that he was infected, so she takes him up the ladder, and they both
get blown up by the sun. And then they, long story short, they go. Oh Jesus! We find out that Norman Reedus is a traitor. That the main vampire actually was experimenting on his son to try and make a new vampire that could be a daywalker like Blade. So again, they need Blade's blood. They're draining him of all his blood, and they the girl is like, "Hey, you're my dad. You're a dickhead. You did this to my brother. The Reaper comes in. There's this big battle. Blade gets freed from it. Whistler frees him. There's a bunch of battle, action and shit. And then the main vampire gets killed by the Reaper. And then Blade and the Reaper fight. And then he gets stabbed through the heart, through the bone where he needs to get killed. And he dies. And Norman Reedus at one point got killed earlier.
Yep.
He gets blown up by the thing that was a bomb but wasn't a bomb. Ron Perlman gets killed. Lots of action. And then a vampire who he had earlier, he was about to jerk off and he stabs him in his head. Jesus, this is hard to remember because it's just nonstop action.
It's a lot of,
Whew,
a
fuck.
lot of similar but different stuff.
And also because I watched all three and I watched them this weekend, so it's been a few days, my brain's like, wait, there's a Pomeranian with it? No, that's the third one. Wait, there's the thing with the club and the... No, that's the first one. Ah, fuck.
Sure.
All right, so that was fun. So let's do this. Okay, can we play clip number 1? This will help recap the first Blade as well, for those of you who may not remember.
Forget what you think you know. Vampires exist.
Yeah, they do.
My name is Blade. I was born half human, half vampire. They call me the Daywalker.
Come on.
I have all their strengths, none of their weaknesses, except for the thirst.
Except for the thirst. Now here's the thing. I can't remember if it's this one or the first one. Where in the I know in the first one they go out. Stephen Dorff's out in broad daylight, but he just has really high SPF on. He literally just has sunblock on. And in my head, I'm like, you'd have to put sunblock on your scalp, every inch of your scalp.
Every single inch.
Like like I don't think that works.
Yeah.
I don't think they did that in
You
this
might
one.
need like a scuba outfit. Why
they
don't
had
you
the
do
they had the
that?
big things on in this one. They had the big suits on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The two like infiltrators to the layer.
Yeah, which, oh my god. So the opening of this, where Blade, with the first gore, it's great because both the first and second Blade mix horror and action really well. And this one with this super gross opening with the vampire with like the face hugger face,
Yeah.
and killing and saying I hate vampires. It's an awesome opening. And then you get this whoop ass action scene where Blade goes into free Whistler. And he chucks the dude against the tile, and it just like shatters the whole wall.
Yeah.
I was right. I wrote it down here. Stakes a guy in the nuts because I remember I think he has the. Does he have the gloves that have the blades or no? Is that the first one? Fuck, I don't remember anymore. But he stakes a dude in the nuts.
He at one point has them. I don't think he has them.
He has them
in the
later
very
on in this one.
beginning.
Yeah. So he stakes a dude in the nuts, bursts him, and they do a really cool thing in the whole series of this where when the vampires get killed, their like skin ashes off, and then they're just like a fiery. It's almost like a Mortal Kombat fatality, like Scorpion's fatality, where it's just like a fiery skeleton.
Just like disintegrate.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's how they justify in the third one. They're like, there's never any bodies, so they don't believe there's vampires because the bodies disintegrate.
That's fair.
You know, that's fair. Yeah. And the rest of the movie, not fair. Whistler survived. Doesn't really make. I said, doesn't really make sense, but who cares?
And so Whistler is a human, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He gets bit in the first one and tortured, and then he's like, just give me the goddamn gun, because Blade can't do it.
Yeah.
And as Blade's walking off, he shoots himself in the head, but apparently he didn't do a good enough job because he turns.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a bullet wound anywhere in his head in this one that I saw.
No.
So they brought him back because they loved him.
Broad strokes.
It's like City Slickers 2. They bring back Jack Palance's Curly's twin brother.
That's
So
what they watched City Slickers 2 and they were like, we can do that. We can get
at
away
least it
with this
wasn't
shit.
Whistler's twin, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I don't mind. I think he's awesome. So Whistler's come back. He's cured. He's back in the fight, but he has to go cold turkey first to get cured.
Yeah.
And Daryl's like, man, I don't know if he's going to be able to go through this. You ever seen heroin addicts, blah, blah, blah. And can we play clip number 2? This is the next morning when Blade opens up the windows and he's like, he's pretty cold to this guy who's like a father figure to him. He's like, in the morning I'm opening up and the sunlight's coming in if you're cured or not. And it's like, damn, dude, like this guy helped you out for like 20 years. But anyways.
How do you feel? Like hammered shit.
Man, that really, he milks that pause when you're listening
take
to
a breath, dude.
He had to really think, what's the most eloquent way that I
I
can...
want to be accurate. He has asked me how I feel, and I don't want to just give him a stock answer.
I don't want to just say pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you ask people, hey, how you doing? Pretty good. Good.
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing well. When people say I'm doing well after I say good or pretty good, I'm always like, fuck
that motherfucker.
damn it. You made me forget that I'm being grammatically incorrect.
Yeah, and they also, like, it also feels like a little bit of a jab. Like, they're just trying to...
Only if they're like, I'm well.
I'm well.
I'm well. speak proper
Look
English.
you up and down.
I like that Fox News reporter that said that LeBron should shut up and
Shut up
dribble.
and dribble?
The beginning of her clip is the best. We're going to do a Jum Doc award. And it's like, what's a Jum Doc?
There's that
We're going to do a Jum Doc alert here.
that entire thing is problematic. I don't know if we can like dissect
we can't.
little by little.
Just if you want to see the most thinly veiled racist thing ever, watch the Fox News reporter talk about
Yeah.
LeBron.
Also, let me just say this: LeBron, everyone knows, travels. He does not dribble. Everyone knows that. All
Oh,
right,
that's a
moving
sports
on.
thing.
Yeah.
Sports! You know how I am with sports. Then these two vampires, let's talk about that, because these two vampires come in like vampire ninjas.
Yeah.
And they're swooping in, and they do this cool mix where I like that they'll do like this crazy CGI jump that then matches with a practical landing of somebody.
Yeah.
It most of the time works. Sometimes when they switch to CGI characters fighting, it looks a little bit like Stretch Armstrong rubbery figurines.
Right.
But for the most part, the action in this still really lives up. So these guys come in to give Blade a message, but they swoop in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and then they just start whooping ass.
Yeah.
Blade immediately attacks, of course, because they're just sneaking in.
Sure.
And it's like a 5-minute fight scene.
And they at no point are like, wait. They're like, none of it. They're all like, well, we could die. We could die, or if we're about to kill him, then we will give our message.
I forgot that they were here for a good reason because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was like, damn. And then when they're like, wait.
Yeah.
You drew first. It's like, why didn't you say this?
It's like flying with a white flag or something, or just like email, maybe.
But then again, it's such an awesome fight scene. I don't care,
Right.
but I love the logic. Like, hey, you drew first, and then we fought for 5 minutes just because we were testing your metal,
Yeah.
just to try and figure out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you are worthy.
It was our daily cardio.
Yeah. I didn't get to hit the gym today, so I just wanted to do a 5-minute fight real quick. They say there's the vampires offer a truce. They go to the vampire lair. They meet the lawyer who, if you're not familiar with the familiars in Blade,
I'm not.
They call them familiars, and what they are is they're humorless humans usually. Except this guy, he's a real cut up.
He's got jokes.
They're humans that want to be vampires, so that they're basically like the liaisons to vampires in the human world, and then they're hoping to be turned someday. Is what it is. So it's like,
can't you just turn? Like, what are the logistics of being turned? Don't you just get bit?
yeah, but that vampire has to. I think there's a certain amount of blood they take before you die versus turn. There's like you either get drained dry or you're left to turn. There's
Okay.
it's loose and fluid.
Okay, but it's something that can be done.
It's something that can be done, but you have to but what they do is they all have a tattoo mark on them,
Yeah.
which means that they're basically that person's familiar. Like Stephen Dorff had
Okay.
one. The lawyer belongs to one. Basically, a vampire claims you,
Gotcha.
and it's in the vampire code. You can't turn this person or kill him.
Gotcha.
So in a way, they're protecting themselves from being killed by other vampires, but also hoping for immortality someday.
Gotcha.
So that's, they're playing the long game.
Yeah.
So the lawyer comes out, and, right around the 90s to early 2000s, lawyer jokes were huge.
They were big.
And this was the death rattle of them, but I still love it. I love it. Can we play clip number 3?
You're human? Daddy, I'm a lawyer.
Woo! I told you! He's got jokes!
I mean, if you're just gonna put the ball in the tee, of course I'm gonna hit it out of the park. What are you doing here?
I love it. I love it so much.
You're human. Barely.
I'm a lawyer. I don't even know how to riff with that, but it's fantastic. So they meet the head vampire.
So another question.
Yeah.
Vampires are immortal. Mm-hmm. Why does the head vampire look like he's 10,000 years old?
They never-
And everyone else looks young.
I don't know, because then in the third one, the original vampire Dracula comes back, and
Oh,
he's
shit.
the dude from Prison Break, not the bigger, stockier guy from Prison Break.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of a dude. Like, why? I don't understand this. But I guess he can shapeshift. Dracula can. So maybe this guy's an ancient elder vampire who has lost the ability to shapeshift, or he just digs that look. He just digs
regal. It's like the guys who put a little gray in their beard. They're like, I just want to look a little more sophisticated. He's like, I just want a corroded skin. How do I do that?
I want to look like a vampire meets a taller Yoda.
Yeah.
It's kind of what he's going for.
I want it to look okay that I have a robe on with a hood at all times.
He's old school.
I guess.
He's super old school.
Yeah, good for him.
Good for him.
Make a choice.
He's committing.
Sure.
Don't knock him for committing.
I'm not. I just had a question.
So he says that there's the Reaper strain. There's a mutated virus. It's gonna spread to thousands of vampires. They're basically they call them they say that it's like crack. It's like crack addicts where like they can't get enough, and you find out later that their metabolism burns so fast that they have to keep eating. Other than the host one, Nomak, he's a little bit more. He's able to stabilize himself more. But the other ones are just like it's like a plague, just ripping through. And they start with the vampires, and then they'll feed on the humans.
They're a little bit like zombie vampires.
Yeah, they're like
a
zombie
little bit,
vampires,
where
yeah.
they're just like
Yeah.
they even said at some point brain dead. They're brain dead. They just exist to get blood.
There's some great. We'll get into that stuff too.
Yeah.
When they really start attacking. So they meet the Blood Pack. Awesome group of people. Let me find what's that guy's name. I wrote it down. Damn it.
Sean.
It's something like Light Hammer, or it's. I'll find it in my notes somewhere. But it's a really fun name too, and I can't find it anywhere. But we meet the Blood Pack. We already talked about it. The only gripe I have with this movie is they have Donnie Yen in it, and they barely use him.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite martial artists, and he gets killed off in like the second scene he's in.
Yeah.
He gets to do like one cool jump, like triple kick, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic.
It was so I agree with you. He's great. It was sort of funny because, and I know they're like playing to his strengths a little bit.
Yeah.
But like to see some people using guns, some people using swords, and then him just trying to kick the dude in the chest.
Kicking
I was
a
like,
bit,
oh, this is,
Kicking a Reaper, yeah.
yeah. They didn't really like arm him.
Yeah.
Appropriately.
Yeah. I think even though the Blood Pack, you could say they're underdeveloped, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to know every single member. And pretty much the leaders of it are basically Ron Perlman and
Yes. And the woman.
The woman, yeah, and which I forget her name is Nisa.
Yes.
Who's the head vampire? We're gonna call him Vampire Yoda. Vampire Yoda's daughter.
Yeah.
And she's playing Blade. You know from an early point that they're playing Blade, but then she starts to, I guess, fall for him.
Unclear.
He does ooze charisma.
Based on the like who would not fall for Blade, honestly, when you can spend that sort of quality time with him. Based on the
I
observations.
wonder what Blade does
of the
for
other
fun.
people.
Like, does he do fun things?
No, he's all business all the time.
I would love to see Blade like go to a comedy and just sit there stone cold the entire time.
Yeah,
and
I
then
bet-
and then leave and go, that was funny.
That was hilarious.
This is my happy, like Tommy Lee Jones. This is my happy face. This is my happy face. But
I bet he loves frisbee. I bet, like, let me just.
there's got to be some
He has a hobby for
weekend
sure.
hobby.
And I bet
Now, don't
it's
get me
something-
wrong. It sounds like we're making fun of Wesley Snipes. We're not. He's awesome in this. He is the perfect badass.
He made a ton of untaxed money on this movie.
He did go bankrupt, didn't he? Or
Yeah.
he got in
I
trouble
think
with the
it was tax
IRS.
evasion, yeah.
Hey, you got it. Death and taxes. That's the only two things.
Yep.
So then, can we play clip number 4? This is after he meets the Blood Pack and the vampires, and Whistler's saying like we shouldn't do this, and Norman Reedus is like, yeah, I don't know about this, and Blade, this is what he has to say.
So, B-Man, what do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
What do you really think?
They're gonna fuck us the first chance they get.
So he's the epitome of cool in this movie.
Yeah.
He may not like very much emotionally, but he is cool as fuck in this movie.
He is.
Like,
He
damn.
is suavecito.
Like, how awesome to be that cool. Like, going into a room full of vampires, teaming up with them, saying, sounds like a plan. They're going to fuck us the first chance they get, but I'll handle my business. Like, that's how sure he is.
That's confidence.
That's confidence.
He has a vision board for sure.
I don't have that much confidence in anything I do.
No.
Not even, like, my donut choices when I go to Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, whew, should I get this or should I get the donut hole? So
It is a decision. It's never like,
never-
I want that.
I want
It's
that.
like,
Especially after you hit 30 and you're like, my metabolism sucks now. So
should I even get this donut? Should I just get a bagel?
they're all empty carbs. What am I talking about? Empty carbs. This is my life now.
I need food to live.
need food to live. So, oh my God, when Ron Perlman and him first have their exchange, and Blade is flipping around, which it looks like he's really doing it, not CGI.
Yeah.
And because Wesley Snipes is a baller martial artist, he's awesome.
Yes.
And he's flipping around the steak, and he's like doing a magic trick for Ron Perlman, and then slapping him in the face. And it's awesome because Wesley Snipes in stature, he's stockier, but he's shorter.
Right.
So you got this big giant of Ron Perlman just getting smacked around by Wesley Snipes, and it's such a great power dynamic moment right there that then pays off awesome later when Ron Perlman tries to kill him and then gets fucked over himself. It's so good. It's such a great intro to them.
It's a great intro to like circle all the way around to
Yeah.
what happens with that explosive on his head.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud while I was watching it. when Norman Reedus is like, it's a dud. It was never explosives. And then he like turns back on him, even though we never like saw him suspect Norman Reedus ever. He was just like, I knew it all along, and it isn't explosive. And then he explodes Norman Reedus, even though the threat was Ron Perlman. Why didn't he explode Ron Perlman?
That's a good point.
It was so
Yeah,
weird.
because if in case you forget, in this scene, he smacks him on the back of the head and puts an explosive device in the back of Ron Perlman's head. And then, later on, Perlman and we find out Norman Reedus is a traitor out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
And that Blade knew all along out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
And then blows up Norman Reedus, like you said, instead of just blowing up Ron Perlman and then just punching Norman Reedus.
Right.
But then we wouldn't get this sick-ass fight scene
That's
between
true.
Ron Perlman and Blade.
That is true.
Come on. So they get these UV guns. They get all these super. Oh, this is it. Blade punching hands. I don't remember what the technical term is.
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah,
Norman
with the-
Reedus is basically like the Q of like the James Bond Q of this, or the Shuri from Black Panther. You know,
Yeah.
There's a little James Bond
Yeah, yeah.
action in Black Panther.
Yeah.
And so Blade gets these gloves that have like these blades that come out that are made of silver, because silver in the world of Blade kills vampires too, not just werewolves. And he just basically punches them and they blow up. It's awesome. And then they have
And it reloads. It like
yeah.
automatically reloads when I don't know what you do.
because it's
but
awesome.
Yeah.
And then they have stake guns that just shoot like rapid fire silver stakes. And they have UV lights, which the vampires are all not cool with because that can hurt them too.
Right.
So they really hold off on using that in the fight scene until they're like, oh shit, maybe we should try the third thing since nothing else is working. But they go to this awesome club scene, which you think is going to have the blood sprinklers. Like in the first one, there's this great scene where there's this vampire club and the sprinklers go off and everybody's coated in blood and they're all just like making out with each other, like cutting each other. It's fucking crazy. You got to watch this, the opening of Blade. It's awesome.
I feel like that scene is in the trailer.
Yeah.
For Blade 1, because that sounds super familiar.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So there's and then this one, they go to the vampire club. They're like making out with razors on their tongue, and they're like cutting open their backs and like just fucking around with their muscles.
Yeah.
And there's just really weird, like piercing each other's tongues. I was like, the whole time I was like, thank God they're vampires, because otherwise they'd be getting tetanus. Like I was just really worried about tetanus in this place.
Yeah.
When was your last tetanus
Are
shot?
those clean blades?
Are those clean?
Can we
Hep C, all
that
kinds of
out,
things,
right.
guys. Like, thank goodness you're vampires and you apparently don't get transmitted diseases.
Can you get a disease if you're a vampire and it just you like feel the ill effects of it but never die from it?
I don't think vampires can get like AIDS or something, like a bloodborne disease. You know, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I don't think it affects them the same way.
Okay.
Let us know, internet.
Someone who knows
Somebody knows.
vampire canon. Let us
Somebody
know.
knows. Norman Reedus, I like that he got FedExed Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah.
It's actually an awesome way to do product placement. I imagine that the studios were like, hey, Guillermo, you got to put Krispy Kreme donuts. And he's like, fuck you guys. Because Guillermo del Toro's like super vulgar and awesome and hilarious.
Like, I love monsters.
So I bet he's like, I love monsters. Fuck you guys. Stupid fucking Krispy Kreme. All right, fine. Put it in the scene. Have them. I'm not even going to try to do his accent anymore because it's vaguely offensive. And so he's like, just put it in the scene. He'll open up a box from FedEx. We'll get FedEx and Krispy Kreme out of the way. They are two sponsors.
Everything together.
Everything together. I don't know if that's true. I'm just surmising
It's 100% true.
It's 100% true.
I love the club scene because you were talking about Wesley Snipes being cool guy. He just like is standing arms crossed in the middle of a bunch of raving vampires.
Yep.
Just like chilling there. And it's like no one like looked over and was like, what's that guy's deal?
That guy looks like he might murder all of us
He
vampires.
looks very angry.
He looks like the Daywalker.
the only one not having a good time.
Yeah.
Why is he in the middle of us? Why isn't he on a wall somewhere?
I don't know about you, but like anytime I go to a club, or which has been never recently, or anytime I'm dancing anywhere,
I still go every Wednesday.
Oh wow, good for
Yeah.
you. Whenever my wife leaves and I'm just on the dance floor, it's kind of like, unless it's a good song, I'm like, ooh, and I just kind of like go in the back,
Yeah.
go to the side, go to the side.
Definitely want to
Gonna
get
rewind
off the
this,
dance floor.
rewind
Yeah.
this. So the Reapers attack the dude with the big hammer. Oh my God, he hits the one Reaper with his hammer and it cracks his neck. And it's all, the thing that this movie does great, that Guillermo del Toro always does, is practical effects. Like,
Yeah.
he mixes as much practical in with little bits of CGI. And I wish more movies and filmmakers did that, because it's awesome when the Reaper head snaps and then goes like, the Reapers are creepy as hell in this movie.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So that's a really good gory moment. When they go in the, I'm trying to think of what else there was in here. There's just so much action to remember. Bullets don't do anything. They get stabbed 100 times. They're walking up the walls and oh my god, the one that gets staked to the wall and then crawls up and it splits him down the middle and like his intestines hang out.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then there was when they were like, don't use your bullets are no good. And then that one guy just like empties out 20 clips on
He's a real bad listener.
Yeah, the guy who the one guy who's against the wall and he just like blows up the whole wall. There are holes everywhere and he's like, I'm cool.
You know,
I'm cool.
Well, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that bullets or stakes didn't work. Perlman gets a little sadistic with roasting the one Reaper. He's a wild card.
Sure.
You know, he's the wild card of the
bad
group.
attitude.
Blade versus the Reapers. When Nomak and him square off for the first time, it's an awesome. You can tell that they're both martial artists, and I like that they're like fighting on a plank, if I remember right, and they're just like beating ass in this like old abandoned part of the warehouse or something. I can't.
There were a couple. I'm conflating the two battles that they had because there was one where he like was holding the sword, right?
Yeah.
And he was just like Nomak had the 2,
Yeah.
and he had the 1, and he was holding it and just fighting with the 1.
Yeah.
I don't remember which battle that was.
You know what though? I forgot. Not to cut us forgetting what battle we're talking about off,
Yeah.
but their one buddy gets killed, and then they cut off his head, and half of his face is still sitting there, and the eyes moving, and they burn his body.
They burn his body in the most ridiculous way possible. There are vampires standing all around him. No look, Blade blows a hole in the wall.
Yes,
And
I forgot about that.
The sunbeam hits exactly where the dude is laying, and everyone else is just like cool with it.
Yeah, and then they get one of the. They realize Nomad's the carrier. They get one of the Reapers, and they bring it back to the lab, and they start dissecting it, and they crack it open, and the insides look awesome. Again, it's all practical.
Yeah.
It looks like the most grotesque game of Operation ever.
Yeah.
And they tell I believe Norman Reedus' character to go reach in there. For some reason, they choose him, and this is Blade's reaction to that. Clip number 5.
B, now come on. Sissy.
You know that actually. Before the show, we were talking, and you're like, Ben, just don't go on a political rant again. You always do.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on, you're gonna take up half the show with it. It's just gonna annoy the people, and it'll valid. You know, people will like it, or the people that you're talking to are gonna just stop listening. We're gonna lose that what is that?
Former listener
702.
Yeah.
And you actually said to me, B, come on, and I went,
Sissy.
It's actually not true. Jesse was fully behind me saying
I was literally behind him. I was like, Ben, take the heat.
I don't know if you noticed, his head was right here the entire time. He just popped up. Yeah, white tiger.
You know what's crazy?
Jesse, you're my white tiger.
That's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. I think. I don't really know.
I'm not sure.
Not positive. When they were casting for Pretty Woman, actually, like Julia Roberts was on the fence, and they were like, I don't know if we're gonna get Julia. And someone from the background was like, what do you think about Sissy Spacek? And they were like,
B, now come on. Sissy.
And they were like,
maybe. But then Julia Roberts said yes.
And they were like, all right, well, Sissy for the next
we're
one.
gonna move forward.
This is what I think is really interesting, because let me know if we have any more time than that in the booth. If not, that's fine. We'll figure it out. The Reapers, they find out they have neurotoxins in their fangs, so they can paralyze their victims.
Yeah,
and then they have barbs that shoot out and infect them with the virus.
Right, on the tongue that's like in the middle of the...
Which is awesome. It opens up like the world's most disgusting flower.
Yeah. They yada yada the shit out of this. Where they just like looked at it and they were like, this is how this works.
It's awesome.
And then they were like, squeeze the tooth. And he did. And they were like, this paralyzes victims. What?
You know what, though? In a movie like this, I would rather them do that than have like a 20-minute
we don't need that
power down.
But we do need just someone like coming up from a microscope and being like, I analyzed the serum, other than like on their finger and been like, this is what paralyzed victim. Look at the tongue. That's what the tongue does. Like, how the fuck do you know? You just like you just opened this person up.
Makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
And it is a new strain.
Right.
It's not like it's been around for a while.
Right. And then they immediately with Nomak, they were like, they peg Nomak as like, he's fine, like he can adjust, but everyone else is fucked. We're like, why? How do you know that?
They just do.
They just know. They have a
They
sense.
just know. They have a sixth sense. They're vampires. We don't know what
That makes
vampires
sense.
know.
No, good call. Good
So
call.
we get a little bit of a tete-a-tete between Whistler and Ron Perlman's character. Can we play clip number 6? They don't like it.
Better get you some sunscreen, Buttercup.
Listen, shit kicker. You're about one cunt hair away from hillbilly heaven.
I love it when you talk dirty.
I'm sorry, that wasn't Ron Perlman. That was the dude from Fast and Furious 5. Fast 5. I forget his name.
Fast Five guy.
Fast 5 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Beard dude. Let's play that again, because there's a lot of colorful, fantastic language going on in that.
Better get you some sunscreen, Buttercup.
Listen, shit kicker. You're about one cunt hair away from hillbilly heaven.
I love it when you talk dirty.
Why did it have to be one see you next Tuesday hair?
I don't know. Well, I feel like what you were talking about with the product placement, I feel like they allowed him 3 dirty lines or 3 like overly aggressive lines, and he was like, I'm gonna put them all in the exact same conversation.
So, yeah, we're just gonna shove it all right into
Yeah.
one conversation.
See if that doesn't stick out.
So yeah, that sticks out. That guy gets really aggressive and then dies pretty shortly after
he
that.
sure does.
They plan to attack at sunrise because that's when the Reapers are going to be most vulnerable.
And he's like, Blade is like, we're attacking at sunrise, and they're like, why? And he just like walks up the stairs, and they're like, wait, why?
Yeah, why? Explain.
Tell us why.
Explain. We find out how Scud, which is, by the way, Norman Reedus' name is Scud.
Yes, it sure is.
How Scud met Blade is he was involved in the world's worst camping threesome. Yeah. This is a cautionary tale to all you single men out there. Apparently, if you're offered a threesome in a tent in the middle of nowhere, it may be too good to be true because they turn out to be vampires and they almost kill him, and then Blade comes in and saves the day.
Yeah, I don't know why Blade was in the area.
He's just
But
rolling
he
by.
was, like,
hey, you guys having a threesome?
patrolling
Or is it
campgrounds.
another vampire luring people into a threesome? What's happening in there?
What if it actually was a threesome? That would have been a different story. He'd have been like,
Sir!
oh God, well,
Why didn't they blow up?
I guess now you and I are together.
So then they spray the pheromones, and Anissa gives them all the pheromones that's going to bring another thing where they just explain it, and we
Right,
just go, yeah,
right.
I accept that.
They're pheromones.
They're pheromones that bring the Reapers to you, which I guess they want to fuck you then, or they just want to eat you. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's
They
awesome.
wanna
I don't
fuck
care.
eat you.
They want to fuck eat you. They want to eat and fuck you. Same time. So can we play clip number 7? This is Ron Perlman not very excited about the pheromones.
They want us to spray on some suck puppy's nut juice.
Suck puppy's nut juice. I feel like that's a punk band, like a double billing.
Yeah.
All right, tonight we got Suck Puppy and Nut Juice in the house.
I would prefer to be on Nut Juice.
Woo!
I'm the drummer from Nut Juice.
And I'm the bassist from Suck Puppy.
Yeah.
We're very excited to be here on Guilty Movie Pleasures.
met the rest of my bandmates in a tent threesome.
that went horribly wrong.
horribly wrong. But now we fucking shred.
We shred because we are Nut Juice. So, holy shit. So they go to the Reaper. Lighthammer, that's his fucking name. Lighthammer.
There you go.
It's that fun, like.
It's a little bit of a jab on him.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have a heavy hammer.
Yeah. But he swings a heavy hammer.
Yeah, I guess.
Or it's an ironic name.
yeah.
Like when they call a giant person, isn't it
Tiny.
Tiny Tim? Or no, Tiny in
Tiny Tim is
Tiny
tiny.
Tim's different.
Tiny Tim
in
is-
Robin Hood,
Yes.
Prince of Thieves.
Little John.
Little John. Little John. Fuck, who's Tiny? I don't know. But anyways, Little Hammer turns out to be bit. He kills Donnie Yen, which is a huge waste.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they let Donnie Yen at least fight back a little? He just gets kind of murdered pretty quickly.
They were running out of time.
They were running out of time. Let's be honest. This movie can't contain any more action. It has more action
Yeah.
per minute than most movies ever.
And they don't introduce the blood pack.
No.
So like
It doesn't matter.
They can just die.
I only have an
guess.
emotional attachment because I've seen like 400 Donnie Yen movies, and I'm like, he's awesome.
Yeah.
So Lily runs away. We said she opens up the sewer hatch and blows them both up with the sun.
Yeah.
Do we only have 3 minutes? Do we have any extra time? Even 2? Oh, wow. Yeah. So they want to kill Whistler in retaliation because they lost one of their own. Ron Perlman's being a big dick. He gets eaten underwater. It's an awesome like kind of Jaws homage where he gets dragged down and the blood comes out. Blade blows up the UV bombs. But before he blows up the UV bombs and takes out all the Reapers. So they basically trap all the Reapers in one. Blade cracks them on himself, the pheromones, gets everybody out of there, the surviving members, which is just Ron Perlman, Nisa, and Whistler, I believe, at this point.
Yes.
Maybe one more. And he cracks the pheromones on himself, and then he throws the UV bomb down saying this. Clip number 8.
You obviously do not know who you are fucking with.
So badass. Wow. Come on.
Yeah.
They don't know. I mean, they're new to this world.
I guess, yeah.
You can't.
People
Blade,
know him, though, right?
You're getting very angry. They didn't. Oh, they were vampires at one point.
Yeah.
So they should know.
Yeah.
Maybe they forgot once they became Reapers.
This is the main plot hole in the film. Is the suitcase full of UV bombs. First of all, the light goes around the corner. It's a very curved light, and it goes around the corner to where the Reapers are, but Ron Perlman and Nisa are also there and are fully unaffected by it.
Well, they jump underwater and they get like half their face burned.
Aren't the Reapers underwater also?
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they would have been dead too. Nisa and Ron Perlman would have been dead as shit.
A little bit of a...
But Nomak gives Whistler this ring, the family ring, and tells him the truth, which then pays off later. Anyways, let's fast forward to the end. We find out Norman Reedus is a traitor. We already talked about Blade blowing him up and the dud, not dud thing.
Yeah. And another great part when the dad was like, when Whistler's like, what about this ring? And the dad's like, I thought it was obvious.
Yeah.
I thought he's my son.
Clearly my son.
Right.
Yeah, clearly I fucked up.
Right.
So he was doing they have this whole like weird like vampire like fetus chamber that then Whistler blows up.
Yeah.
And just kills all of them and then there's
he's pro-choice, I guess.
I guess so. He comes he comes in just wrecking. The Reaper comes in and just Nomak comes in and just wrecks all these vampires. There's so much action in the end that I can't even remember.
Yeah.
There's fuck me. There's Blade gets shot and so he's been drained of all his blood. He gets shot and falls into a vat of blood. Comes out fully recharged. He's always like in all the movies. Whenever he gets recharged after being drained, he like cracks his back or his neck. And in this, he's like crack. Fucks up a bunch of the familiars. He shoves a taser wand into a guy's head, and it's awesome. Stomps on a few skulls. And then there's the face-off with Ron Perlman, which is awesome. And there's a clip where Ron Perlman, we get a little hint as to why he's so angry. Can we play this?
Well, like my daddy said right before he killed my mom, want anything done right, you gotta do it yourself.
I mean, hey, now you kind of feel for him.
Make anyone kind of angry.
Yeah, I'd be angry at the world.
Yeah.
And then he gets sliced up the middle like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
That was super cool.
Super awesome. And then just brains and everything. Awesome.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
And then he kills Nomak by... They set it up in the dissection scene, but like there's an unprotected portion where you can get to the heart. And it's the only way to kill them without light. And so Blade finds the spot and gets him right in the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in true Guillermo del Toro fashion, when Nisa dies in the end, Blade takes her out to the sun, and it's kind of an oddly beautiful scene when she gets burned up out there. She gets to see the sunrise for the first time. And then the ending, though, ties into a character Blade lets go earlier. This creepy dude comes in. He's going to go jerk off to a peep show, and he gets tissues and razor blades. Weird combination, but I guess vampires are into kinky shit. We found that out in the club earlier. And then Blade shows up and says this, clip 10.
Well, you didn't think I forgot about you, did you?
Shoves a knife through his head, credits. This movie's awesome.
Yes.
There's no better way to end that than you didn't think I forgot about you, did you? Knife to the head, credits.
Yeah.
This movie's fantastic. I love this movie
The
so much.
deleted scene of the girl who occupies that booth. Like, now I'm short tips.
Can you give me the tips you want to give me? Come on. Anyways, I think we have to wrap it up, right? We got no more time left. All right. Well, what's that? No time. Okay. Well, I had a blast talking about this movie. This movie's jam-packed. So there's a lot to unpack, and there's a lot of action. It's hard to remember every single badass moment. If you haven't seen Blade 2 in a while, I think it stands up. I think it stands the test of time. It's awesome. It's super fun. Skip Blade Trinity. Watch the first two. Jesse, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Too Much Jesse, and for sketch at The Prom Losers.
You can find me at The Ben Begley, and also my wife, like I said, has started writing some parenting blogs that are a little raw and funny and hilarious and brutally honest. It's at Parents vs. Baby. We have some sketches on there too. We're gonna have some more content coming at you, and I may have a cool horror thing coming up later in a few months. So it's a little. I'm just teasing it for now. Anyways, give us your suggestions, and when we put a poll up there, just know that every vote counts. Unlike our country, every vote counts when you vote for guilty movie pleasures. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, what is your guilty movie pleasure?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin
questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners and principals.